What's up, everybody? Today we are going to be going over player upgrades, and I have done a lot of testing and work on this to bring you guys the exact numbers and the exact expectations you should have when it comes to upgrading your players. Now, I did this for every single position down the board. I did it for every archetype. Every possible way you can upgrade a player in this game, I have done the homework on. And today I'm going to bring you guys the raw numbers and take a look at the percentage numbers, so that way when you guys go to upgrade your players, you know exactly what you should expect to get with every single upgrade. So that way you can find ways to single out particular attributes and know that if you click on this archetype, you have a good chance of getting what you are looking for. So we are going to end up starting with the quarterbacks, and we're just going to go right down the list. Before we get started though, I want to let you know what I did. So what I did was I went in and I turned up the XP to max. I went through every single position and I did all archetypes available for that position, and I upgraded every one of those archetypes at least 40 times. I will say some of them had 41 upgrades, others had 42 upgrades. I don't know what I was doing. I was just randomly doing stuff before I figured out that I should just stop at 40. I don't know why, I just did. But where I get the consistency from with the positions is I did make sure, like, if quarterbacks, like for instance, have 41 upgrades, all archetypes under quarterbacks had 41 upgrades, and I did that for every single position. So what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna show you basically a big spreadsheet that has all of the raw data in it, and I'm gonna show you another one that has the percentages broken down, so that way you can see exactly what you are going to be expected to get on each individual role. All right, so here we are on the quarterbacks, and if you are not aware of what the archetypes are, they are right here at the bottom underneath, well, player archetypes, and it has 4 different options listed: field general, strong arm, improviser, scrambler. Every position has at least 3. Some have 4, but usually it's 3 for the majority of the players, and then some positions like quarterbacks, wide receivers, I believe linebackers have 4, and I believe that's it. Yeah, but a few of them have 4. A lot of them just have 3 different archetypes that you can choose from, and each one upgrades different attributes essentially, and that is what I'm going to show you today. So that way, you know, when you click on strong arm, you have a pretty good indication of what you are going to get for an upgrade from this position group, regardless of when you do it. And this testing was done on low overall players, high overall players, young players, old players, and everything in between. I didn't just do like certain types of players, because the game can also change what you get as an upgrade based off of, like, for instance, on running backs, if you have elusive as an upgrade, which is where you get, you know, your jukes, your spins, your agility, COD from. If your juke is like an 85 and your spin is like a 70, the game sort of seems to try to balance it out, and it'll give you some of the other ones more frequently than the one that's already up higher, because as the ratings get higher and better at overall, it's almost like the percentage of them rolling decreases a little bit, because otherwise you'd have certain attributes that are just 99s within like 2 years, and I don't think the game wants that. Now, I don't have the exact figures on that. I don't know exactly how that breaks down, but what I do know is if you have a certain attribute that's really, really high, it's less likely to get more upgrades, because you're getting close to that ceiling. You're getting close to the max. So like I said, we're gonna start with the quarterbacks here. We have field general, strong arm, improviser, and scrambler. So first, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna show you the raw data that I got with upgrades. And then here we are with the raw data list for the upgrades on quarterbacks. So each individual quarterback had 41 upgrades that I did for each individual archetype. We have all 4 listed here. And then these are the numbers of how many upgrade points I got per attribute. If the attribute is not listed here, it never got a single upgrade for it. Every single upgrade that happened within the 41 upgrades was counted for on this panel here. So if you don't see an attribute here, that means that that individual archetype will not get that particular attribute you're looking for if it's not listed. And the reason I did so many upgrades, 40 upgrades is a lot. Let me tell you guys, it is a lot to do this. It took me a week or 2 to get all of the data, but the reason I did 40 for each one is a very random number. I understand. It's not 50, it's not 25. I just sort of felt it out, and I just started going and going and going. And then I got to 40, and I think that's where my, like, I was like, okay, I got to stop this and move on to the next position because this is getting out of hand. But the reason that I did so many is because you'll see here at the bottom, you'll have some that very, very rarely get given out, like speed and agility here under improviser. And I wanted to make sure that in the off chance that I get one of those very rare upgrades, that it was shown in this upgrade, in this upgrade breakdown. Now, will there be one random person who gets one upgrade to something that's not listed here? It might happen, but I am about 99% confident that I have received every single upgrade possible within these archetypes and have it listed here for you guys to see. So let's go ahead and let's start right at the top with Field General. Now, Field General is going to be the not running one, essentially, that's not a strong arm. And you can tell that by the top 3 here. Now, every single one of these positions has like top 3 to 4 attributes that you will get almost every time you do an upgrade. Like you can see awareness and throw accuracy mid, 37 times I got an upgrade for it on 41 upgrades. Now, does that mean I get that every single time? No, sometimes I wouldn't get that, but other times I would get +2 or +3 to these certain attributes. So it does vary. I'm not telling you you're guaranteed to get this exact attribute every time you upgrade this archetype, but you're going to have a really, really good chance of understanding the percentages and knowing exactly what you can expect. So when you go for a Field General build, you are going to get a lot of awareness, a lot of throw accuracy mid, and then the throw accuracy short sort of trails behind just a little bit with the 3rd most upgraded tier. You also have the ability to get throw accuracy deep, which is something I wasn't expecting as much out of with the Field General, but it is there. And now if we go down to the strong arm, you can see that throw accuracy mid is actually the highest, and you get it almost more than every time. There's multiple times where I had +2, +3 to throw accuracy mid when doing a strong arm upgrade, and awareness was honestly right behind Field General. There was also a much better percentage roll on the throw under pressure, and surprisingly, I actually got less throw accuracy deep upgrades on strong arm than I did on the Field General. Not by much, I mean, it's pretty comparative, but I assumed that throw accuracy deep would be the main one out of all of these that would get upgraded. I was very surprised to see that it was very comparable to Field General, because you see throw accuracy deep and you see strong arm and you're like, well, that's got to be what that is for, right? But it's not. It is not. It's actually throw accuracy mid is where you get a lot of that upgrades from, and it is more than once per upgrade almost. So like I said, you might get one upgrade where there's nothing, but then you'll get +2, +3 to that particular attribute on your next upgrade with it. Awareness came in at 2nd at 34, throw under pressure 19, deep at 18, and then it really jumps off a cliff for break sack, throw power, and play action. One thing that I noticed that I think a lot of people have a misconception for is that strong arm is where you get your throw power from. But actually looking at this list, you have 6 here, you have 6 under strong arm, and you have 8 under improviser and even 8 under scrambler. So you don't need to do strong arm upgrade to get more throw power. It actually seems as if you're better off going with one of the scrambler archetypes to get better throw power. One thing to consider with some of these, like throw power being so low down here on strong arm, same with throw accuracy deep. If you're upgrading one of these attributes like strong arm, chances are you might be upgrading it because that's already their archetype, and their throw power and their throw accuracy deep are going to be a little bit higher rated than some of their other things like throw accuracy mid or throw accuracy short, because that is not what a strong arm is supposed to be. And again, like I said, it's going to break things down in a way to where it tries to balance things out. Like if you have 90 throw power, or if you have 90 deep accuracy and you have 75 mid accuracy, the game is not going to just keep pushing deep accuracy until you're at a 99 and just leave mid accuracy all alone. It's going to try to compensate a little bit. But overall, I did this on quarterbacks that were just not strong arms too. Like I didn't just do strong arm upgrades on a guy like Josh Allen, you know, and Field General upgrades on a guy like Kirk Cousins. I used multiple different quarterbacks in all types of their careers to get these upgrades. I can't stress that enough. Like I did my best to take away any potential chance for bias and just put in the raw numbers. And then once you get down to the improviser and scrambler, you're going to notice that there's a lot more stuff that they can get upgraded. Strong arm seems to be the least amount of upgrades you can get. Strong arm has 2 very strong indicators in throw accuracy mid and awareness, but then they also have a lot less that is available with upgrades for that. Like, you're not even seeing throw accuracy short even one time. You're not seeing throw on the run at all. There are some attributes that you will not see in strong arm whatsoever. And that's why this is so important to look at, because some people will go to strong arm strictly and they think that they're getting the best player. And really all you're doing is you're just raising up what's already being shoved up the boards with the percentages, because strong arm usually has throw power, which usually holds up overall, but you're not actually getting a good spread on your upgrades when you take a strong arm archetype upgrade. And you can see that by going down to the improvisers here and the scramblers. They seem to have a much better spread. Like, look it up here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different attributes that can be upgraded within the double-digit range. And then just 3 that are below that. Whereas up here, it just seems to be much more weighted at the top. This seems to be a little bit more balanced. You still have a majority of it going to break sack, which seems to be a pretty big indicator of an improviser, right? When things break down, you make plays. Same with throw on the run and throw under pressure. But then it also makes sure to give you all 3 different accuracies too. Short, medium, and deep accuracy. You don't get as much awareness. And then obviously these are more of those rare unicorn type upgrades that you'll get with them every once in a while. Another thing that I noticed is that out of all of these all these different archetypes here, none of them had throw accuracy short very high. Like, I thought for sure Scrambler maybe would have throw accuracy short, right? Because a lot of times you have a scrambling quarterback, they're usually running out of a spread system. You got a lot of underneath stuff going on. But no, throw accuracy short is actually one of the harder upgrades to get when it comes to upgrading your quarterbacks for some reason. You get a lot of mid, a lot of throw accuracy middle from all of these archetypes, except improviser, of course. But the short seems to be the hardest to come by. All right, now here's the fancy list that actually Baker helped me do. Well, he didn't. Okay, well, I shouldn't say that. He didn't help me do this. He did it. I am not a big fancy Excel guy. I don't know all this stuff, but Baker does. And I asked him, I said, hey man, I got all the numbers. I just don't know how to put this into percentages that make more sense. And that's what he did for me. He did put a couple of extra things in. So the probability panel you're seeing here, this is just essentially the probability of you getting at least 1 upgrade point from this individual attribute every time you upgrade that actual archetype. So it follows the same order. It doesn't, maybe it shows it over here. Yeah, it does. There it is. So it follows the same order. Everything's in the same order as my other sheet. It's just that this has the extra information. So the probability is awareness. You have a 25% chance of getting an awareness as one of your upgrades. And now when you take that into consideration, you get usually 3 to 4 upgrade points per upgrade. It actually ends up being closer to like 50 to 75% that you will get one of these upgrades on an actual roll of 3 or 4 upgrade points. So you have a really high probability of getting awareness, a really high probability of getting throw accuracy mid when you do field general. The T-prob, this is the percentage based off of every single attribute, not even ones included. So I don't know if that one's really going to come into handy too much here, but maybe you guys know more about the T-prob than I do. And then the cat percentage here is the percentage amount of points you get per upgrade. So like the 21%, you get more points. You're at 29%. You get more points by upgrading improviser and scrambler per upgrade on average than you do with strong arm or field general. So that essentially means that if you are going to get one of those rolls where you have 5 or 6 upgrade points instead of the standard 3, you're more likely to hit that with the improviser or the scrambler. So that is what those numbers mean. The cat percentage. You have a better chance of getting a better roll with them. It's just, are those attributes going to be what you are looking for at the end of the day? And now we are on to the halfbacks. So just like I said, some positions have 4, most have 3. The halfbacks are ones that have 3. They have elusive, power back, and receiving back. Now, these are pretty self-explanatory. Elusive is going to be, you know, your shifty backs, your juke, your spin, that kind of stuff. Your strength, your trucking, your, you know, those kind of attributes. And then receiving is actually going to be more of actual receiving. You're going to get catching. You might get some catch in traffic, and you might get release, and, you know, different types of things that are going to help your running back actually be a better receiver out of the backfield. So keep that in mind when you're thinking of receiving back. it's not necessarily going to always upgrade an actual running back attribute. It's a lot of the times just putting it towards receiving stuff. But this is also the overall you will see in 3D RB is the receiving back overall. You're not getting the overall of the elusive back, it's receiving back. That's why you might notice if you have an 80 overall elusive back and you go to put him in third down situations in your depth chart and he's like a 68, what the heck, dude? Why are you a 68 here? Check his receiving back. I guarantee you that his overall as a receiving back will be a 68 overall. And now it is time to look at the halfbacks. And yes, I did take notes here on some things. There's some things that I pointed out to me that I noticed as I was doing the upgrades that I was like, I should really write this down. I already sort of mentioned this to you guys before when talking about quarterbacks, but I'll say it again. The upgrade allows multiple things like juke and spin. If juke is low, it is more likely to upgrade that over spin. So what I mean by that is if you have 80 spin and you have 70 juke and you do elusive, you might end up getting more juke than spin because spin is already a higher attribute of that player. It wants to bring up the lower overalls when you do the upgrades. Also, if you draft a running back, I've noticed this a lot. If you draft a running back that doesn't have great change of direction, that's what COD stands for in Madden, you have a very good chance of getting a lot of COD. And I noticed it more so with players that had low COD, low change of direction. If they were, low to mid 80s, they were getting COD quite frequently, 1 to 2 upgrades every couple of upgrades, and it would really change the landscape of that running back. And now change of direction, it is what it is. Like it's essentially the new agility for Madden. It's going to help your player, plant foot, go the opposite direction, change directions, all that sort of stuff. It is very, very important for elusive running backs because obviously they have to make quick decisions on their feet and they have to change directions based off the information. So COD is a very good thing to upgrade. And just know that even if you draft a guy that maybe has lower COD than what you wanted, you have a good chance of still getting it up to a respectable number. You just got to put the upgrades in and you'll see it play out. But now on to the actual upgrades themselves. So we're going to start here with elusive. And surprisingly, awareness is actually the highest attribute by a long shot, I might add. 46 you get from awareness out of 42 upgrades. So at least every upgrade, I was getting 1 awareness, or I would get 2 or 3 awareness and then I'd go 1 without awareness. You also got a lot of spin and a lot of juke. Now this is sort of interchangeable. A lot of running backs seem to come into the game with better juke than they do spin, which is why I feel like spin is a little bit higher on this list here. Change of direction was the 3rd highest in elusive, which is weird because I did this with elusive backs as well as power backs, and even the elusive backs that were already decent in change of direction were getting change of direction with their upgrades. So you can still get guys with good to very good COD and still get upgrades there, even though they already have, 90, 91 change of direction. And then once you get past juke, which like I said, is sort of interchangeable with spin depending on what your player is good at, it sort of falls off a little bit of a cliff. A minor hill down to carrying at 17 and ball carrier vision at 13. Speed did happen, but it did not happen very often. And now, you can use these to sort of tell what situations you should look for in the draft, knowing what you can get out of these upgrades. This is a multifaceted type of information. Not only is it going to help you upgrade the players that you already have on your team, but it could help sway your decision making on draft day. If you look at an elusive back and you know that his agility is low, right? Or maybe his speed isn't the best or his acceleration isn't the best, and you're like, well, I'll just upgrade him and just slam him with elusive upgrades and he should be good. Not so fast. You're not going to get that many upgrades for those types of positions. So maybe what you need to do is look at running backs that have crappy awareness, don't have the best COD, maybe their juke or spin isn't up to par, and you can build them up the rest of the way, but they have good things like ball carrier vision and carrying already in place, or agility, because those are less likely to get upgraded. Power backs, break tackle, not surprising, that is the leading category there. I really thought trucking would be, but again, trucking is usually something that is always given to every power back. So with break tackle, not a surefire thing you're going to get, it got more upgrades. Trucking was behind it by quite a bit. That and awareness was very high when it came to the power back. So power back or elusive back, you are going to get a lot of awareness for your back. So what this is telling you is don't consume yourself with finding a running back with good awareness. Look for other things that you don't see very high in these lists, so that way you can balance them out better and have a better overall player after your upgrades start taking place. One thing to note though here as well, speed was never given out of all upgrades. And this is upgrades to power backs, to elusive backs, to receiving backs for 42 times. And speed was never once given to a single power back upgrade. So if you are going power back, just know you will never, ever, ever increase your speed or your change of direction. It's just not gonna happen with a power back upgrade. And then we get down to the receiving backs. And this is what I was referring to. Look at the very top one. Short route running, 50. Catching, 41. Catching traffic, 27. And then it falls off an absolute cliff down to the rest. Spin move, 14. Awareness, 13. Juke, 6. Yeah. You will get some speed. You can even get some ball carrier vision. But it only happened one time out of all 42 upgrades. I only got one singular attribute upgrade of ball carrier vision out of all of them. Like I mentioned, receiving back is not going to help your running back be a better running back. It is simply going to make them a more well-rounded player in all situations of the game. And a lot of these running backs will come in and they will not have very good elusive ratings. You can draft a receiving back, right? If you really like a receiving back, you can draft them. But just know the upgrades, the attributes that are holding that overall up are going to be these things. It's not going to be these things here. So you are going to have to work quite a bit on some of these things. But if you do get that player upgraded properly, he'll end up being not only a great elusive back in the run game, but he'll also be a great asset for you in the receiving game out of the backfield. And I think what you guys have already picked up on in just these two lists that we've seen is that there is a very distinct 1 to 3 upgrades that every archetype automatically seems to give almost every upgrade. And there's not a lot you can do to avoid that. You're just gonna, and sometimes you will just get the top 3, right? And that's just all you get. It's when you start doing multiple upgrades when you start seeing some of these lower ones come into play. Once in a while, your very first upgrade, you'll get one of these, but don't expect it every time. It's very few and far between. Like, you know, think about it. I did 42 upgrades and I got 4 speed on elusive back, right? I did 42 upgrades here and I got 1 ball carrier vision. That is a lot of upgrade points that I'm getting that I'm not even seeing at all because it's just not a very common occurrence within that exact archetype that I'm upgrading. And now here is that same list, but now broken down with the probabilities. So you're going to see that awareness at elusive is 25% of your upgrade. And there's nothing else above 20. It's 18%, 16%, 14%. Once you get down to power backs though, you have a little bit better of a spread with your top 3. For 26% at break tackle, 21 at trucking, and 18 at awareness. And then once again with receiving, it's a lot of the very top ones. Short route running and catching is going to be a lot of your upgrades when it comes to this stuff. And then looking at the cat here, you know that it's actually a pretty even spread. Like, yeah, you can say technically that you get more upgrade points for elusive than you do receiving, but to have them all within like 2 or 3% of each other just says that regardless of which one you choose to upgrade, you're still going to get the value of the attribute points out of that particular upgrade. And now we move to probably one of the most disrespected positions in the NFL, and that is the fullback. Yes, I did the fullbacks too. And it's sort of ironic that I just called them the most disrespected, and I sort of disrespected them because I was not going to do 40 upgrades for fullbacks. One, it is extremely difficult to get an upgrade for a fullback because they're not on the field very much and they essentially get treated like an offensive lineman. And you guys know if you do upgrades how hard it is to get upgrades for your offensive lineman because they go specifically off of game stats, not individual stats, right? So it's tough. It is very tough to get upgrades for them. I did 20 upgrades for each different archetype, and as you can see, this one is, I think, the only one other than kickers and punters that only has 2 potential archetypes. It has utility and blocking. Now, utility is going to be more for your Kyle Juszczyks. If you guys know who that is, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, it's essentially the guy that can pretty much be a running back or a shorter tight end. He's good at running the ball. He's good at pass protection. He's also good at catching the ball. He can do everything for you. He's not just a guy that you put in there to block. Obviously, the blocking archetype, well, it's a blocking archetype. It is a guy that you're not going to trust to throw the football to in a tough situation, but you know if you put him in front of your running back, chances are you're going to have a good day when it comes to running the ball. So let's take a look at what the upgrades did for fullbacks. Fullback utility upgrades for fullbacks actually seem to be much more widespread than that of blocking, as you can see by the quick numbers here. it had 31 count for impact, 27 for awareness, and then 14 here, stiff arm, short route running, and 13 for ball carrier vision. I was surprised that ball carrier vision was this high and not things like lead block or, you know, carrying for that matter, because it's a utility back, or even catching. But no, it was ball carrier vision, short route running, stiff arm, awareness, and impact block out of the 20 upgrades that I did. And then down here at the blocking, we had 33 for lead block, 14 for impact, 13 for run blocking, 12 for run block power, and 10 for awareness. And then it was the rest of them that filled in after that. The weird part though, is I got no speed upgrade out of utility, or I got 2 speed attribute points out of 20 upgrades, which just seems like, I mean, that's essentially like getting 4 speed upgrades for the running backs at 40 upgrades. I mean, that was actually a pretty significant speed increase, and it wasn't even on the one that is considered more of the guy that can do it all. It was the blocking guy. Madden just does weird things, man, and this is why I wanted to do this video, because there are some weird, intricate things about this game that a lot of people overlook or don't really think much about, and I wanted to make sure that you guys had all that information. Here's the numbers, right? And then here, let's go and take a look at the percentage breakdown of the fullbacks as well. So, I mean, it was very much in the utility favor. Utility ended up being, I mean, 58% cap percentage, which means that a big chunk of your upgrade points are coming from you doing utility, right? You're just going to get more out of it. Now, the percentages are very random at times, especially outside of impact and awareness. So you're going to have a lot of, like, look at this, 2 at 9%, 1 at 8, 6, 5, 5, 5, 5, 3, 3, 3. So if you're looking to have a little bit of a random upgrade and you don't really want to know what you're going to get, utility upgrade on a fullback might get you that little itch that you're trying to scratch. Going down here to the blocking side of things, it's a little bit more laid out. You know that you're going to get a lot of lead block. You know that impact is going to come into play. Same with run blocking. So you're getting the attributes that matter the most when it comes to your fullback. Same with run block power. And then awareness is right behind at 9%. And then it just drops off a cliff there. So your main 5 are going to be these 5 right here for upgrades when it comes to the blocking. But you are going to sacrifice getting as many attribute points individually when doing the blocking utility as you do here with the utility, because you just have a more widespread array of upgrades you can do. And because a lot of these on a fullback are going to be lower overall or lower down on the attribute totem pole, the likelihood of you getting an upgrade there might be significant. You know, if they have really bad trucking, you might randomly get a +3 trucking, even though you have 2 other attribute upgrades. So it's variable based off of overalls. It's variable based off of what their grades are. But what I'm trying to say is, if you want more bang for your buck out of your upgrades of your fullback, you're going to want to go with utility. The only thing that you're going to miss out on when you do the upgrading to the utility side is you're not going to get the actual blocking stats that matter. If you're not aware of this, in CPU play, pass block and run block is essentially just a stat to look at. It doesn't do anything in the game. Where it really comes from is run block power, run block finesse, the power and finesse type of blocking. So you're not going to get any of those when going utility. So if you really desperately need a fullback that's going to be better at blocking, you got to go with blocking, even though you're going to sacrifice some potential upgrade points there. And now we get to the wide receivers. The receivers, much like the quarterbacks, have 4 different archetypes. They have deep threat, slot, physical, and playmaker. Now, just based off of surface value, deep threat is going to be your guys with deep route running, release, usually better speed, and good spectacular catching. Your slot receiver is going to be the guys that are a little bit quicker. You know, they can do the mid routes and the short routes really well. They're going to have really good release. Physical, that's your go up and get it guys. It's going to be the guys that have good catch in traffic. They might have better strength. They might have some stuff like trucking or stiff arming or something along those lines, and they're going to have better jumping. Those are the guys you want to throw that ball up to in tough situations, and you expect them to come down with it. And your playmaker is going to be sort of almost like the receiving back version of a receiver. It's going to do the other things. It's going to do your jukes, your spins, your carrying, your ball carrier vision, other things outside of just playing receiver to make them a more well-rounded player on things like end arounds, or maybe even playing out of the backfield from time to time. Sort of like your Deebo Samuel type of upgrade. And we did 44 upgrades for every single wide receiver archetype, and we're going to start right at the top here with deep threat. Obviously means you're going deep, which means that deep route should be at the top, and it very well is. 54 out of 44 upgrades. You're averaging at least one, if not two, deep route attributes every time you do an upgrade with the deep threat archetype. Release was very close at 49, which it should be. Catching traffic was a big one at 41, catching at 30, medium route 30, awareness 27. This was a much more balanced upgrade than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be very skewed to just these three here, but seeing that catching and medium route both had 30 and awareness had 27, you can actually get a lot of good stuff out of a deep threat upgrade for receiver outside of just deep route running and things of that nature. Going down to the physical, release was the top dog, and they need to be, because a lot of the times that release comes into play when it's man-to-man coverage, it's pressed at the line. Who's going to win? Are they going to let them get jammed up, or are they going to shove that corner out of the way and keep going on their route? So release being at the top here does not surprise me, neither with catch and traffic at 46. What you're going to notice is that catch and traffic seems to be the most upgraded stuff when it comes to receivers, but also what you'll notice is when you are drafting receivers, catching and traffic doesn't always seem to be the highest upgrade they have. So it does make sense that catch and traffic is going to be a lot of the three catching type of attributes you have that get upgraded, because it's important in almost every scenario, and it's something that players don't always come in with having great scores, right? They might have great catching, but their catch and traffic is a C on draft day, right? So you're going to get catch and traffic a lot more. As you can see here, 46 out of the 44 upgrades you're getting once again. So almost every time you do an upgrade for physical, you can almost guarantee you're going to get release and catch and traffic as one of those upgrades, if not two of the upgrades you get. Spectacular catch, really not far behind either at 35. It's a little bit more skewed than what it was at deep threat here, but spectacular catch is a very important one as well. Short route running got 29, which did surprise me a little bit, but also not at the same time. When you think of a physical receiver, yes, you have the chuck it up in the end zone type of plays, but you also have to have those guys that can catch it on them 5-yard ins and outs, and those guys that can catch it on the hitches and take those hits as they're making the catch. So short route running being high here did not surprise me very much. What did surprise me, however, is that speed upgrades did not vary between physical and deep threat. I really thought that you would have a bigger jump with speed here. Maybe speed was 4 with deep threat, but it was like 2 with physical, because when you think of a physical receiver, you don't think of a speed demon. And now moving down to the slot area. So slot, 54 of them were short route running. No surprises there. Catch and traffic, once again, another very integral part of every situation with a receiver. They also had 36 for medium, 34 for catching, and 26 for awareness. You still did get a little bit of upgrades with deep route running, but it was very few and far between. You did get 5 acceleration on this upgrade, which is pretty good. Adding, I mean, you think about it, if you did, well, obviously you're probably not going to do 40 upgrades on a single player, but let's just say you did. And you could take a player from 90 acceleration and 90 speed up to 95 acceleration and like 90 something speed. Like, that's a very big upgrade to have. Those are things that you really can't usually change on a player. They don't get faster over the years. You know what I mean? They're sort of born with it. They either got it or they don't. So being able to upgrade 5 acceleration, I think is actually a pretty big thing for the slot receiver and something to pay attention to. If you really need acceleration, your best bet is going to be going to the slot and doing those upgrades for receivers. Same with change of direction. There was no change of direction on physical, and there was 1 on deep threat. So if you're looking to get change of direction or acceleration, it looks like you're going to need to go to the slot upgrades for your best chance at getting them. And now we make it down to the playmaker. And the playmaker is, like I said, it's a lot of stuff not involved with receiving. Juke move dominated it. Absolutely killed it. Ball carrier vision and break tackle. Look at all of these 40s. Look at this. Look at all of these 40s, guys. Juke move, ball carrier vision, break tackle, short route, spin move, and catch in traffic. Hell, you still have 2 more at mid to high 30s in medium route and awareness. I mean, your chances of getting just juking and ball carrier vision and stuff is very high. But if you stick a lot of stuff into playmaker, you can actually make quite a bit of movement with your receivers off of this. Medium route and awareness being in the 30s, catch and traffic at 41, short route at 43. Spectacular catch and deep route are right behind too. And surprisingly, change of direction on the lower side. You even had injury. This is like the only spot that I did any upgrades where I actually had an injury upgrade, was playmaker receiver. Honest to God, I think this is the only one where I actually received an injury upgrade from an attribute. So it's very random about how they put these things in there, but yeah, this is where you need to go. If you need injury, the only place you can do it is through playmaker upgrades with a wide receiver. And now let's take a look at the actual breakdown here from the percentages. So your best upgrade is going to be playmaker by a long shot, which makes sense when you look at how many inflated numbers are here. Your breakdown as well is very, very spread. I mean, 9%, 10, 10, 10, 11, 11, and 15. You're not dominated by one particular attribute when it comes to the playmaker. You have a really big array of different types of attributes you can get from upgrading. Whereas if you go up here, you have one at 25, one at 19, one at 17, one at 16, and then it starts to, you have 112, and then it just completely jumps off a cliff. 3%, 2%, 1%. So most of them, like almost all upgrades, you're going to have, like I said, 3 to 4 attributes that are very prevalent in every upgrade you do, and then you're going to get some of these lower tiered ones trickled in every once in a while when you are doing multiple upgrades with these players in these attributes. So there's just that list again. This is a very long list, so that's why I'm sort of just sticking on this page for a second. Plus, everybody loves receivers, so I figured let me just scroll up and down a few times so you guys can have a good chance to pause and take a look better at some of these individual attributes and find that information that you're looking for. And now let's move on to the tight ends. When we get to the tight ends, there are 3 different archetypes, and let me tell you, you get a lot of stuff with tight ends. This is probably going to be the hardest one for anybody to try and figure out what they need to upgrade to get them, outside of obviously the obvious answers, right? Vertical threat, possession, blocking. Vertical threat, you're obviously going to get a little bit better stuff when it comes to like the middle to deep route of the field. You're going to get more possibly catch and traffic or spectacular catch. Possession, catch and traffic, short route running, catching, those type of things. Blocking, primarily blocking. But wait until you see the spread of attributes that you can get from a single upgrade on a tight end. It shocked me. And this was actually the longest process out of all the positions because of how many different upgrades I was finding. I was constantly adding different attributes to my list. And here we go, starting with vertical threat at tight end. I did 43 upgrades for the tight ends on all 3 different attributes, but look at the spread here. I mean, this is like twice as much as almost every other position group when it came to the amount of different attributes you would get off of a single archetype upgrade. And vertical threat had a lot of, like I said, you're gonna have a lot of medium route. It dominated at 44 along with catch and traffic. Short route running somehow was the 3rd highest here, which it surprised me how high it was with compared to like deep route running and release. I really thought that release and deep route maybe not get 40 upgrades, right? But I thought it would be higher on the list than short route running, considering vertical threat means you're going downfield. But Madden does Madden things, so short route is actually the 3rd most likely upgrade when it comes to tight ends, awareness being the 4th, tied with catching, deep route at 29, and then you start seeing some of the blocking come into play. Run block finesse, run block power, run blocking down here below release. You also even get some ball carrier stuff, ball carrier vision, break, tackle, juke move, change of direction. You had 7 change of direction in vertical threat. I mean, that's a lot for a single tight end, Granted, they're not using it as frequently as a receiver or running back, which is why they probably get more of an upgrade there, but it's still surprising to see. So, I mean, essentially, if you really want to try and like cheat the system, you could like move a wide receiver to tight end and then just spam vertical threat, get a bunch of extra like change of direction stuff out of them, and then change them back to receiver where you don't get as much change of direction upgrades. Hey, look, man, I'm just telling you, those are some ways that you can do these things, right? There are ways around it. You don't have to follow the script. But yeah, it's a lot of, you know, and then once you get down past here and you get to these 7s, it's a lot of just random upgrades. You will get a couple, like once in a while you'll get speed and acceleration, but it's very, very rare. And then heading down to possession, short route running is the top of the list, which surprised me. It did surprise me how much it topped the list. Like up here, you have 44, 40, 37, 34, 34. Down here, you have 40, and then it immediately drops to 30 for catching traffic. And then 29 for awareness, 26. But it does still have a really good spread down in this area. It's just that short route running really dominated the possession upgrade for tight ends. The one thing that I did notice is I feel like possession is sort of like the like a default upgrade, right? It's not too specific to vertical threat and receiving, and it's also not too specific to blocking. You're getting a pretty good mixture of both worlds when you do the possession upgrade. So if you care about blocking, or you care about like bringing them along in a balanced way, possession might be the way to go when it comes to upgrading your tight ends. And then when we get down to blocking, it's a lot less availability than what you get everywhere else. Very, very much less. But it's also much more concentrated. It's just blocking. You don't have catching. You have 3 different catching attributes. You have, you know, 3 different route runnings. You have a release, jumping. You have like 10 different attributes all tied to just catching and or just receiving. Whereas blocking, I mean, it's blocking. You have 6 different archetypes there, or 8, sorry, with lead block and impact block. So it's going to be a lot more focused there, and you can see that. 36 here for run block power, 35 for run block finesse, 32 run block, 24 lead block. Pass blocking is on the lower side, but honest to God, in this day and age, tight ends really are not pass blocking at all anymore. You're in a situation where your tight end is on the field. If you're not running the ball, they're running a route, so it does not seem to be as impactful. But if you are somebody who wants to have a tight end with really good pass blocking, maybe you like to audible them to be a pass blocker for you on blitz situations, try and find guys in the draft that are already good at pass blocking, because the upgrades you're going to get are not going to really inflate those numbers too much. It's going to go a lot to the run blocking portion of things, as you can see here. And now on to the actual percentage breakdown of the archetypes here. So like I said, it's a very, very mixed bag. 12% is the highest here on vertical threats. And it's 11, 10, 9, 9, 8, 8, 6. Yeah, it's very, very spread out. Nothing really dominated every upgrade. Right? It just seemed to be very balanced. Probably one of the most balanced ones that I did out of all of these different position groups. And then coming down to possession, it's even more balanced. You're getting so much more here. You're not getting a lot of stuff that's super high up with 12, but you have a lot of them here in between 5 and 9%. That's going to be the majority of your upgrades when you do a possession upgrade. And the dominating factor here is the blocking one. Because like I said, it's more concentrated on just the blocking attributes, especially run blocking. And that's where you're getting your 16% from, your 14, 11, and 10. It's surprisingly though, even though you have a bigger selection and better spread of attributes on possession, it's only at 36% of the cap percentage. So it's second place when it comes to how many upgrade points you get per upgrade. And actually the majority of them are coming from vertical threat here at 40%. So vertical threat, you're going to get much more bang for your buck with an upgrade, but possession is going to give you a much wider net to cast out for upgrades with your tight ends. And now it's time to get to the big uglies, if you will, the offensive linemen. So we start here on left tackles, one of the most important positions on a football team. And with this position, you have 3 upgrades, the same for all 5 different lineman positions. You have pass protector, power, and agile. So pass protector, pretty self-explanatory. All of your pass blocking stuff is going to be what you are sort of aiming for. That's what holds up the overall there. Power, your power upgrades. And agile is the agile version, the finesse version. Like pass block finesse is agile. I'm not sure why they have that name differently. It sort of bothers me. I mean, I know that agile and finesse in the football world are like they mean the same thing, but it seems a little weird. Why not just name them both the same? Like you could have just named this finesse archetype. You know what I mean? Whatever. That is what we have for the left tackles. Now let's take a look at the breakdown of it. Looking here, we had 41 upgrades on all of left tackles. And a little side note that I noticed here. I'm not 100% sure if this is completely because of my upgrade choices, but I feel like I was very, very impartial, and I grabbed linemen from every area. And this goes not just for left tackle, this is just the line in general. It seems like the left side of the line develops faster than the right side of the line. I don't know if I'm crazy. I don't know if there's something to this. Maybe you guys can let me know down below if you guys have noticed this, but I know that the left side of the line when I was doing these upgrades finished way faster than the right side. And what I mean by that is I would sim for a year, and then I would go in and I had like 8 or 9 different teams that I had all chosen, right? And then I would just go through all the teams and I would just upgrade all the players that I could and then record it here. And then I would start over. I'd go back, I would sim another year or do whatever, come back, do it all again. And the right side of the line was like one of the last things that I was still upgrading after everything else was done. Like even defense, like everything else was done. I still had some right guards and right tackles that I was trying to upgrade. No idea if that was a complete coincidence or if there's something to that, but that's just what I came up with when I was doing this. So keep that in mind if you want to test it out yourself, and let me know what you think. Let me know if I'm crazy or not. The linemen though, as you can tell, much more concentrated with every single archetype upgrade. I can fit all 3 here very safely on this one page. I don't have to scroll at all to show you guys this. And don't mind my done things. This was a 2-week process. I was just marking them off as I was done with them so that I knew if I looked at this page, I was done. It is not, that's the only reason that's there, because I'm stupid and I forget what I do. So agile or finesse. Obviously your finesse is going to be the highest here, which it is. 51 for pass block finesse, 46 for run block finesse. Pass blocking comes in at 3rd at 23, awareness at 17. Coming down to the power, run block power was way over the top. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with a lot of linemen being automatically good at pass protecting because they're a left tackle, like that's literally their job. So they were more prone to having higher pass blocking attributes, which meant that the run block power was what really needed to be worked on the most. So run block power was high up there. Pass block power right behind it. Awareness, once again, you got a lot more awareness under power than you did on agile. I don't know why, but I just noticed that if you do a power upgrade, you're much more likely to get attributes to awareness than you are to agile. The other weird one here too is that under power, I was able to get 3 to agility and 1 to acceleration, whereas with agile, I only got 2 to agility and no acceleration. So it's just very weird how it picks and chooses what needs to be there for each individual archetype. And then going down to pass protection, well, pass block finesse and pass block power are at the top like they should be. Awareness is at 3rd at 21, and then pass block at 15. Pass protector is it is the most centralized and concentrated upgrade you can do, but if you don't necessarily need pass blocking help, never do it. You have very limited amount of stuff you can upgrade, and you already know exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get pass blocking and awareness. And then looking at this sheet, it also tells you sort of the same story. Right up here at agile, 31%, 28% for the top 2, 38% run block power for power, and then it dropped down to 18% for the second most found attribute. Pass protector was much more, again, concentrated and balanced out, 36 and 29%. And then looking at the cap percentage, it's a very slight nod to power, but I also think that's because left tackles are more prone to be agile and pass protectors. So that way, when you do a power upgrade, they have more needs there and they will more than likely get more upgrades, right? Like if you are very hurt at certain positions, like you've seen this with corners sometimes, I'm sure, where you just randomly get a +4 man coverage because your man coverage sucks on your corner. The same sort of dynamic works here with left tackles. If you're good at pass protecting and you're good at agile because a left tackle is going up against some speed rushers, you're more than likely going to have lower attributes in run block power and even maybe pass block power. So those are going to be pushed up the board when you're doing these attributes upgrades a little bit more because they're lacking behind in your average left tackle attribute build. But yeah, you can essentially see here that the cap percentage, if you go agile or power, you're getting a good roll, you're getting a good amount of upgrades, and you're going to take a big hit if you go pass protector. But once again, you are definitely going to get exactly what you're looking for almost every time when you do pass protector upgrade. And now we go right down to the line. Left guard is next, and we have the same exact 3 archetypes. So we're not going to talk too much about that. Let's just go right to the sheets. And here is that breakdown. So your guards usually have more power behind them, at least they should. Some guards come in with agile, some even have pass protection as their main source, but guards are going to take on the D tackles, right? They're taking on the big guys in the middle of the D line. So more than likely, you're going to end up having power type of players in that position as opposed to agile. So you can expect more upgrades and bigger like roles if you go with agile, because it's just not their particular usual set of skills. So pass block finesse dominates at 65. And this also, when you do a guard as opposed to a tackle, especially a left tackle, guards are not known to be pass block finesse guys, right? Because when they're pass blocking, they're taking on guards. So they usually have a higher ceiling for pass block power. And their job is more laid out in the run game, lead blocking, opening up lanes for the running back. So their run blocking all around is usually at a little bit higher of a level than their pass blocking is. So when you do agile upgrades for a left guard or right guard, you're going to get a lot of big spread on pass block finesse and the things that you don't necessarily need to have as a guard. So that's why I feel like pass block finesse is really dominating this individual positional archetype upgrade. And then awareness, once again, coming in at third. Coming down to power, same thing, run block power. That's the one thing that you need the most, and it gives you exactly what you need. 42 upgrades, I had 59 attribute points to run block power. If you find a guy that is very bad with power plays, if you go ahead and draft him, you can very quickly build up his run block power with upgrades, because it's just going to dominate the actual upgrade that he gets every time you do power. And then down to pass protector, once again, it's very, very simple. You're going to get pass block finesse, pass block power, and awareness as your top three. It doesn't really decipher too much between these guys. And then looking at the attribute breakdown, this one is very clearly, once again, you're going to see a lot of similarities between all the offensive linemen in most cases. 37% for both power and agile. You're not really getting discounted by going in either direction. It's just about what you're trying to upgrade. And both of them have a mid 30s, a low 20s, and then something in the teens or close to 10, and then it drops down. And that's sort of the running theme with all lineman upgrades. And then with centers, we're not going to waste any time. We're going to go right to the upgrades, because again, same three attributes, or same three archetypes for all attribute upgrades. And then looking here, centers, again, pass block finesse is going to be the key here, because they're meant more for run blocking. Run block finesse was very high and a very close second, though, so you still get a really good roll on run block finesse if need be. Awareness being at 32, that was definitely higher than most of the stuff you saw with the left guards and left tackles for awareness. And then the fourth and fifth are pass block and run blocking. You do get some good impact block and lead block, so you don't get as much strength as you get as prevalent as the other ones. Like the other ones I think had like 9 or 8 or something, and this one only had 6, but centers usually aren't known for their brute strength, right? They're more of the facilitators of the line. They're more in between everybody else, so they don't necessarily always have the most upgrades when it comes to the strength portion of things. And once again, run block power ends up being the dominator for power, followed by awareness with 44. Very big upgrades for awareness there under power. Pass block power at 29, tied with run block as just generally at 29, and then lead block and impact block. And then, of course, pass protector doing the same thing we've seen with the other three, or the other two. And then the breakdown list. So it's very easy to see that the percentage breakdown is, if you want the most bang for your buck, you go agile or power. If you absolutely need to do pass protector, do it, but you're going to leave some stuff on the table there. And now it is time to check out the right guards. And once again, we're going to have pretty much the same type of breakdown. This one, for some reason, had just a little bit more of pass block finesse here. And I'm not 100% sure if that is just genuine coincidence or if there is something behind that. But the right guards had a lot of pass block finesse upgrades, as you can see. It dominated more than double the run block finesse at 34 and awareness being at 19. Down here at power, it's much more balanced this time around, where it's pass block power and run block power both one in like neck and neck with each other, and awareness at 33. Even run block at 31, so actually some pretty good spread here on the power for right guards as opposed to left guards. And let me go back here and show you guys the difference between these two. So right here is left guard, and this is right guard. No idea why there seems to be such a disparity between the two positions, Obviously, they play different positions. I understand that. But a lot of the times you sort of see left guards and right guards as sort of interchangeable on the line, right? But there is a difference in their upgrades when it comes to which side of the line that they're on. You are more likely to get run block power as a left guard than you are as a right guard, which is a little weird to me. And yes, there are two differences here. There's the 42 upgrades instead of the 40 upgrades, but I mean, that's a pretty big disparity, right? That's not exactly 2 upgrades worth of a difference there. You're just more likely to get run block power as a left guard and a right guard. Don't ask me why. So here's the right guards again. And now here is the left guards. Another very big difference is down here with the pass protector. For right guards, there's only 5 attributes that I got out of 40 upgrades. Pass block finesse, pass block power, awareness, pass block, and impact block. However, as a left guard, you were also able to get 1 speed and 1 strength upgrade. Now, this could have been just a random thing. If I would have done 1 more upgrade for right guards, I could have very well got that. But the fact that there is a difference between the two signifies that there might be something in the computer there that says these are different positions and you have to give them different things. And I just wanted to show you guys the breakdown of that, and so you guys could make decisions for yourself about where you want to get, you know, your upgrades from. And another one here I just noticed up here at pass block finesse, you're much more likely to get pass block finesse as a right guard than you are a left guard. Very strange. Same with the opposite, run block finesse. Look at that, 34 run block finesse for agile here as a right guard, 42 for a left guard of the same exact attribute, same archetype. A little strange. Almost forgot to show this portion too, the breakdown of the percentages for the right guards here. So you're gonna have 36% at agile and 39% at power. So there's just a little bit more of a disparity between left guard and right guard when it comes to how much you get with power upgrade. And if there is a difference there, the most prevalent difference has been with right guard compared to every other position. Not sure why, but it's there. So, you know, I don't know, man. Sometimes Madden confuses me. Sometimes it makes me chuckle. And these are one of those things where, like, I don't know why left guard is so much different than right guard, but Madden thinks it is, and it's going to treat it as such. And then we have the right tackles, the final position for the offensive line. And now looking over here at the chart, this is the breakdown. So for agile, pass block finesse is going to be the dominating factor here. Run block finesse quite a bit behind it at 38, and then pass block at 18. So it's very dominant here for these top two, and very, very dominant for pass block finesse. Coming down to power, you have 48 for the run block power, 37 for pass block power. So that one's pretty balanced. Once again, going towards run blocking as opposed to pass blocking. And then at the pass protector, 45 for pass block finesse and 40 and 30 for pass block power. So even though there's minor changes in these, there is still a pretty good indication that all the linemen, for the most part, if you take any lineman and you have to guess what they get per attribute for an archetype upgrade, you can probably hit the nail on the head with about 80% of the upgrades you're going to get. But there are minor intricacies between the positions that can sometimes sway what upgrade they get. That also could be a complete coincidence. I don't know. I mean, it's not like we're seeing a massive change between positions, but there are some key differences that I'm seeing between them that makes me think that maybe, you know, like right guards, just for some reason get more upgrades to a certain attribute. And then looking here at the percentage breakdown, this one is a little bit more in line, 36, 38% with what we saw across the board. And you have a 37% chance of getting a pass block finesse upgrade. So it's pretty damn near guaranteed you're going to have pass block finesse as an agile upgrade with any right tackle upgrade that you do. And same with pass block finesse for pass protector. So the one thing that I like about this though, is that sometimes when you're trying to upgrade your pass blocking, you're like, dang, I have to go pass protector. Not necessarily. If you go agile, you can still get almost the same amount of pass block finesse for the same type of upgrades that you're doing. And actually, these all did 40. I actually got 60 compared to 45 down here. So even though the probability is more because there's less attributes that you can get, the likelihood of you getting pass block finesse is actually raised under agile than it is under pass protector. So don't feel like you have to go to pass protector if you're trying to get your pass block finesse up there better for your right tackle, because you just go finesse, and that way you're still getting your run block finesse, you're still getting pass block and run block, you're getting a sort of a more widespread array of attributes, but you know that you're still going to be guaranteed to get that pass block finesse that you're really looking for. And now we get to move on to the left ends and the defense. So when you do a left end or defensive end build, you're going to have 3 different archetypes: power rusher, run stopper, speed rusher. This is where things can get a little tricky and crazy, because this is probably the most dominated by like a single attribute role that we've have. Oh, I would say there might be still one coming up that's a little bit more dominated by a single attribute for an upgrade. But this one was very, very apparent that when you choose a certain archetype, you are getting this upgrade. And these archetypes are very, very different as well, because if you watched my other videos and you've seen my explanation between defensive ends in a 3-4 and defensive ends in a 4-3, you know they're 2 very, very different positions, but Madden lumps them all together because that's what Madden does. So for instance, Dean Lowry is a 3-4 defensive end. He fits as a power rusher, and he's very close. He's tied actually with run stopper. Those are the 2 that you're looking for in your 3-4 defensive ends. Speed rusher is your 4-3 defensive end. I would like power rusher to be close to speed rusher because I like having a balance. But if you're going to have one attribute or one archetype that is dominant for a 4-3 defensive end, you need speed rusher. Your power rusher is very, very simple. Power rushing moves, bull rush, you know, those type, not the swim and spin. That's for the speed rusher, but your bull rusher, your rips, your just brute force winning your one-on-one against the lineman. That's your power rusher. Your run stopper is going to be better with block shedding and better with getting off the blocks and filling in the gaps. Maybe they're a little bit better with play recognition because they have to think about, okay, is this a pass? Is this a run? Is it coming my way? What gap do I have to be in? And your speed rusher is the exact opposite of power. It is the finesse, the fancy spin moves, the swim moves you see out of defensive ends, the speed off the line to get around that edge to get the quarterback. That's what you're looking for in the speed rusher. And now let's take a look at the attributes that come with those upgrades. So we started off with speed rusher. In my opinion, I like 4-3. So I always deemed as a defensive end as a speed rusher. That's like the default for me. And if you do a speed rusher upgrade, regardless, and I did 3-4 ends, 4-3 ends, run stopping ends in these upgrades, you are going to get finesse moves every single time. Sometimes twice. Almost every time twice, actually. And it is dominant by far with the rest of the attributes. Awareness is the next closest at 23, tied with tackle for 23, and then it falls off another cliff to pursuit at 11. So not a lot of upgrades you're going to get with speed rusher. It's going to be very, very centrally located on getting you finesse moves. And then here, this note that I got more finesse moves with a player that was like a power rusher or a run stopper that had a low tier of speed rushing moves or finesse moves. They were the ones that got more, sometimes like 2 or 3 upgrades at a time, or attributes at a time for upgrades, because that was lower down the totem pole. So just going back to what I've been saying this whole time, if a player is upgraded in a position and there are things they can choose from and they are lower down on the attribute totem pole for that individual attribute, their likelihood of getting that attribute are raised a little bit to try and compensate and make the player more balanced in Madden's eyes. And then down here with power rusher, same type of situation, except with power moves instead of finesse. 70 power moves out of 40 upgrades. 30 for awareness, so a much better spread on the awareness front for power rusher than you got on the speed rusher. And then tackle was at 20. Acceleration, I had 8 acceleration. 8. That is a lot of acceleration for a single position. The power rusher, man, actually was sort of nice. You do get the other one too. Like you see here, finesse move was 6, and then up here you have power moves at 4. You very seldomly will get the opposite type of pass rushing attribute that you're looking for, but they do trickle in there from time to time as sort of fillers. And then down here at run stopper, it's dominated by block shedding. It is the single most important attribute you can have for a player if you're trying to have a better run stopping ability on defense. If you have bad block shedding, your defensive linemen are not going to be helpful in the run game at all. Same with your linebackers too. That matters for them as well. So that's why this is dominated here. 70 for that, 34 for tackle, because obviously that's pretty important in the run game as well. And then play recognition, like I also mentioned, they got to know what's coming at them. Where is it going? Is it a run? Is it a pass? Do I have to be ready for it? And pursuit is at 20, awareness at 11. So the run stopper, if your player has decent power moves or finesse moves and you're happy with that, run stopper seems to be a pretty good spot to go to get some of this extra stuff, the block shedding, the tackling, the play rec, pursuit. And then looking at the percentages, yeah, you guys could guess it. It's going to be very heavily in favor of the power move or the speed move, depending on which upgrade you do. 45% for speed rusher, 44% for power rusher. And even the run stopper has a little bit less at 36%. It's a little bit more balanced there. But not a single one, not any three of these archetypes have a second upgrade that was in the 20 percentile for probability. The best one was power rusher with 19% at awareness. And then a close second or a close third was 18% for tackle under the run stopper archetype. But it is very much dominated by power rusher. And then you can imagine that all of these other ones are going to be trickled in from time to time, just as fillers for your upgrade packages. But your run stopper is where you're going to have a better likelihood of getting some of these more important ones here. 18% for tackle, 14% for play rec, 10% for pursuit. When you look up here, 3% here, 4%, you know, you're just not getting the good percentages for these other ones that are important, just not the flashy ones that everybody thinks about. And now we're on the right ends, and this is, you know, same type of setup as the left ends. However, in most schemes, they have very different roles. So let's take a look at the spreadsheet here. And for the speed rusher, you actually had even more upgrades at the finesse moves of 78, and then 19 here for pursuit, 18 for tackle, 17 for awareness. Power rushers, 72 power moves, 23 awareness, 16 tackle. And then down here at run stopper, 75 block shedding, 33 play recognition, and tackle at 24. So the one thing that I noticed here when I was doing these upgrades is that there is a minor difference in the upgrades for both sides here. So if you look here at the left ends, and I also did the same upgrade amounts too, like this wasn't like 42-40 like it was for right guards, where there's a potential difference for why the numbers are different. All of these had 40 upgrades exactly. So looking at the left ends again, you had 71 for finesse move, and you had 78 here for the right ends. So for some reason, there's a little tiny inkling that the right end speed rushers are getting more finesse move upgrades. The play recognition is second as opposed to third or fourth at left ends, even though the numbers are sort of comparable. You had 27 here for left ends, and your right ends had 33. So it's not a big difference, but there is the fact that you're more likely to get play recognition in a role if you do run stopper as a right end as opposed to left end. And then here are, of course, the probability breakdowns. This is even higher, 50% chance. And then down here, 48% for the power rusher, 39% at run stopper for their top attribute. So this one, like I said, the defensive ends, very, very top heavy. You have one attribute that dominates every single upgrade, and then you have the fillers in the rest of the way. A few here at 11, 12%, 15, 11%, 17, 13%. But the majority of your upgrades are very, very focused on the very top attribute, which is also the very most important part to the archetype upgrade that you're doing. And now we are at D tackles, the last position on the D line. And this one, I mean, it has the same three archetypes, but you can see here from the actual spreadsheet that there is an actual pretty big difference in how it plays out. So this one's laid out differently. It's not speed rusher first, it's run stopper first, because that's usually the default upgrade that you get for defensive tackles. That's what their job is. They also seem to get a little bit less upgrades at the block shedding portion for run stopper, but this also could be attributed to the fact that usually a defensive tackle is going to come in with relatively good block shedding because that is their primary job, whereas a defensive end's primary job is usually containing the pass and getting to the quarterback. So they're more likely to have a lower block shedding, which leads to potentially more upgrades for block shedding when you're doing that upgrade. Play recognition was a very big one though here, 34 counts on the play rec under 41 upgrades. Tackle also at 30. So this one, you can tell a little bit more balance in its approach at the D tackle position as opposed to the defensive end position. And then moving down to the pass rushers, power rusher, 65 at power move, pretty comparable for what we saw at the defensive ends, but awareness all the way up here at 41 upgrades for the power rusher position, and you still were able to get 25 block shedding, which is something that I like to see, because that means that you can do power rusher and you don't have to risk losing out on upgrading your run stopping ability at defensive tackle. So it's like, I mean, you do these two here for your defensive tackles, you know, maybe alternate them or something, you're going to have a very, very good defensive tackle once you go through some of these upgrades, because the top 4 are the most important: block shedding, play rec, power moves, awareness. I mean, you can't ask for anything more. And then you also have 30 here for tackling at run stopper, and here you get 14. So those two are the predominant upgrades to do for your defensive tackles. But if you're looking for a fancy 3 technique, and if you don't know what a 3 technique is, it's essentially the D tackle that is listed in the 4-3. You have 2 defensive tackles in a 4-3 defense. That is the guy he's like Aaron Donald, right? He's not the big guy like Gilbert Brown was, or Ted Washington. He's the smaller guy that is good still with the strength and with power, but he does have a little bit more finesse and agility to him, to where he can actually rush the passer in a speed rusher role. And if you do that upgrade with a defensive tackle, you are getting finesse moves whether you like it or not. 87 count on 41 upgrades for finesse moves alone, and then it absolutely drops off a cliff to 21 with awareness, 15 to block shedding, and 10 to tackle. So the only reason you would do this upgrade on your D tackle is if you severely want finesse moves to be upgraded on your defensive tackle. If that is not something you're looking for, just ignore this entire archetype upgrade altogether. And then looking here at the count breakdown, you are much more likely to get, of course, the top ones: 38%, 36%, 57% finesse move here at Speed Rusher. That is the highest percentage we have seen on the probability scale for this entire video. But if you go Power Rusher, you actually have a very big disparity here between the other two. You have 37% of your cap percentage. Remember, that is how many points you get per upgrade based off of everything else. So you have you're going to get 37% of your upgrade points if you are using the Power Rusher compared to the Run Stopper. So if you go with the Run Stopper or Speed Rusher, you're leaving some extra attribute points on the table, whether that's in an important attribute or it's one that's not as important. You're still not getting those attribute points as much unless you go with the Power Rusher. And this is the idea that I had from it too. The Power Rusher seems to be more of the end all be all. When you draft a defensive tackle, chances are they're going to have pretty good block shedding, right? They're going to have pretty good tackling usually, but they don't always have the power moves. They don't always have awareness. So if you choose Power Rusher, you're still going to get some additional power or block shedding to your defensive tackle, but you're going to make them that much better in not only passing situations, but every situation by giving them a lot of power and awareness. And you get a really good spread, it seems, here for other attributes outside of the top 1 or 2. And now we get to the outside linebackers. And outside linebackers, along with receivers and quarterbacks, are the only position groups that have 4 different archetypes. And that has to do with how Madden handles defense. This is going back to that 4-3 versus 3-4 talk that I just mentioned with the defensive ends. Your outside linebackers not only can be your edge rushers, but they also can be your off-ball linebackers depending on the type of defense you're in. So that's why they have 4. So you're looking here at the 4 archetypes. You have Speed Rusher and Power Rusher. Those are meant for the outside linebackers that are playing in a 3-4 defense. They are standing up. That is where your pressure comes from. And the other 2, Run Stopper and Pass Coverage, are for the 4-3 defense, where it is an off-ball linebacker. What off-ball linebacker means is you're playing up in the run game, but you're also dropping off into coverage and playing zone on defense underneath and in the flats, right? So there's very distinct differences between the 2 positions, but Madden has them all, put together. So we're going to go over all 4 of them, obviously. Speed Rusher, pretty similar, same as the defensive end. Finesse moves. Power Rusher, same there as well. It's for power moves. Run Stopper, very similar to that of the defensive ends and defensive tackle. It's going to be block shedding, it's going to be tackling, play recognition, and then your pass coverage is where your zone and man come into play, and some other things like awareness and play recognition. And then looking here at the spread, we're going to start off at the top here with speed rusher. You get a lot of finesse move once again for going with speed rusher. The one thing that I noticed is that when you do a power rush upgrade, they're more like, forget the speed rushers, you're not getting nothing. Because if you look here, you get 77 in finesse moves, and you also, I ended up getting 5 power move upgrades, but at power rusher I got 63 power moves and only 1 finesse move upgrade. So you're more than likely to get not only finesse but also power by choosing speed rusher in that scenario. Now, does that really make much of a difference? No, it's just something funny I saw and I thought it was worth mentioning. But this one is very dominated by the actual pass rush move. So in this case, finesse move 77, awareness 22, 15 for zone coverage, which is good. The reason that you see zone coverage on here is because even though a linebacker who is in a 3-4 is primarily like an edge rusher and rushing the passer, they do have plays where they're going to drop into coverage, right? That's how you get your mixed looks from. That's how you confuse the offense. Oh, well, there's Danielle Hunter out there. I know he likes to rush the quarterback, so I know he's coming in. But then all of a sudden the play starts, and all of a sudden Danielle Hunter's dropping into the flats, and the quarterback like, oh crap, I thought that was open. And now that 2 to 3 second window that he has to switch where he's looking can also lead to either a sack from another player, or maybe just, breaking down the play and making something into nothing for the defense. So that's why you'll see zone coverage in the speed rusher, because those guys do have to drop back into coverage. It's just very, very few and far between where they're actually doing it to where you need to have good zone coverage. It's helpful, but it's not something you're going to see that much of with the 3-4 defense. And then down at power moves, you just don't get very much here for you don't even get zone coverage. Like, there's no coverage and power moves at all for the power rusher upgrade. You have 63 for power moves, 21 for awareness, 21 for tackle, and 10 for play recognition. Yeah, so if you're looking to try and get your outside linebacker to have a little bit better zone coverage while upgrading their pass rushing, you're definitely going to go with speed rusher, where you can at least expect to get some of the upgrades you need for dropping into coverage, because the power rushers, apparently they don't believe that they should ever be dropping into coverage. And then down here at the run stopper, this is where we're getting into more of not just what a defensive end does or an edge rusher does, but also what a linebacker does. Block shedding still leads the way, but now tackling comes into play in a big way. 35 there. Zone coverage is up at 28. Play recognition at 27. Awareness at 23. So run stopper is a much more broader upgrade where you are going to get sort of everything you need to be a quality linebacker. And then dropping down to pass coverage, this one is similar to the power rusher and the speed rusher, where it's dominated by what it's intended for, and that is zone coverage. 78 upgrades for zone coverage, 36 for awareness, tied with man coverage, and then it drops off a cliff. So the best upgrade that I see, I mean, obviously this depends on what kind of linebacker you have, but if you have an off-ball linebacker, if you're in a 4-3, right, and you're trying to get a good linebacker for stopping the run and dropping into coverage, I feel like run stopper gives you the best spread of what you can upgrade. If you're looking to hone in on zone coverage and just coverage in general, pass coverage is obviously the way to go, but you're not going to get as many different types of attributes here as you will up here. And then looking here at this list, you can see that the run stopper is by far the best upgrade for the cap percentage, which is how many upgrade points you can expect to get within those 40 upgrades compared to the other archetypes. 24% here for speed rusher, 19 for power rusher, 31% for pass or for run stopper. And I don't know why the pass coverage is not here, but just looking at this list, you know it's going to be less. It doesn't even have close to the same amount of attributes that you can get on this list. So run stopper is definitely the best bang for your buck, and I think the best overall upgrade for an off-ball linebacker. And just for comparison's sake, we're going to do the right outside linebacker first instead of the middle linebacker, because obviously those two are sort of interchangeable, the outside linebackers. And I want to just sort of show you guys the difference you can see in these two. So now that we have this pulled up here, looking at the right outside linebackers, Speed rusher still dominated by finesse moves. Awareness is second at 30, and then tackle, zone coverage, pursuit coming in here. And then power rusher, though, much more prevalence in the power rusher upgrades, the right outside linebackers compared to the left outside linebacker. 13 differences, and there was only one upgrade difference. 41 for the right outside linebackers, 40 for the left outside linebackers. So you can see here on the left, you had 63 power move upgrades off of 40 upgrades, but at the right outside linebackers, you had 79 power move upgrades off of 40 points off of 41 upgrades. So there is a disparity, there is a difference in what you upgrade here. Some of this has to do with scheme as well, and what is considered a scheme fit for these positions. I think that's where some of these disparities come into play when it comes to why one position gets more in a certain area than another, even though you're upgrading the same thing. But this one is very, very skewed for just power rushing. I mean, awareness and tackle is here, but there is not much else worthy at the power rusher upgrade. And then down here at the run stopper, once again, it's dominated by block shedding, but you're still going to get 39 zone. It's the second highest upgrade on run stopping. 34 tackle, 31 play recognition, and 16 awareness, 16 man. So a lot of good upgrades here under run stopper as well, just for the same as the left outside linebackers. So here we have the right outside linebackers, and now here we have the left outside linebackers. So it's sort of the same spread. It's a little bit more top heavy with the top 4 attributes for right outside linebackers, but that again, that could have just been luck of the draw. And then pass coverage, once again, it is dominated by the zone coverage, but now interestingly enough, man coverage actually becomes the second most at 43, and it pulls away from awareness, whereas with the left outside linebackers, they were tied at 36. So you're more likely to get man coverage upgrades as a right outside linebacker than you are as a left outside linebacker. And then of course here is the breakdown for the percentages there. So yeah, this is pretty comparable to the 27%. You can still see that run stopper is by far the best upgrade to get for just having the most points that you can possibly get for each upgrade. And what that means, like, I know I've said that a lot. What I mean by that is, you know, sometimes you upgrade a player and you get 2 upgrade points, right? You get 1 for 2 things, or you'll get 3. What sometimes you'll get like 4 or 5 upgrades, and you're like, oh, this is awesome. The cat percentage is telling you the ones you're more likely to get more of those upgrades from. So you're more likely to get 3 or 4 or even 5 different attribute upgrades from a single upgrade with run stopper than you are with something like power rusher. You're more prone to get like 2 to maybe 3 here, where here you could end up getting like 3, 4, maybe even 5 different attributes upgraded on one single upgrade. And now we are there for the middle linebackers, the final linebacker, and this is always going to be your off-ball linebacker. You have 3 different archetypes because there is no possibility that this player's position will be needed in pass rushing situations. So the speed rusher and power rusher is gone. One different archetype here. Field general comes into play. And that, of course, is sort of because the middle linebacker is supposed to be like the quarterback of the defense, as they say. And let's take a look at the spread here. So starting with field general, you have a lot of zone, 55 upgrades to zone coverage, 42 to block shedding, 32 to play recognition, 30 to tackle out of 41 upgrades. Okay, so you're getting a lot of upgrades to these positions, and every single one of these attributes is very, very important to playing middle linebacker. You also get 29 man and 28 awareness. So I mean, you could really, what is it, 6? Yeah, 6 different attributes, all of them very, very important to a middle linebacker, are very prevalent in the upgrade for field general. And then looking here at the run stopper, you still have 6 that are in double digits, but there is a much bigger spread. You have 50 to tackle, 47 to block shedding, 34 play rec, 27 zone, and then 14 for awareness and 13 for man. So you still get roughly the same types of upgrades, but for instance here, 55 zone up here compared to 27 down here. Block shedding at 42 here. You get a little bit more block shedding, obviously, with run stopping, but it's not the leading factor. Tackling is, which is something that's interesting. And then, well, mentioning tackling, 50 at run stopper as opposed to 30 for tackle. Man coverage, though, is definitely more more in the field general upgrades, 29 there as opposed to 13 under the run stopper. So those are some pretty key differences there. I still am a fan of run stopper, but I feel like when you get to middle linebacker, that field general might end up being the play. Like, in my opinion, that's what I would want to go with. And then going down to pass coverage, this one is sort of on par with what you saw on the outside linebackers. It's dominated by the zone coverage, and it does have a lot of really good man coverage upgrades though too, but those are really the only two things that you're probably looking at. Awareness jumps down to 21, and then you have tackle at 12. So not a lot of spread here, but it's centralized, right? If you need coverage with your linebacker, and that's like one of the only things he's missing, just stick it on pass coverage and you will get the stuff that you're looking for. It's just not going to give you all the extra stuff, and that shows through here in the percentages. So up here at field general, your top probability is 23%, right? And this one is 24, but then when you drop down to pass coverage, it's 42%, right? So there's a much more spread of attributes you're getting with these two upgrades as opposed to pass coverage down here. Also, field general, sort of like I mentioned, by far the best for most points per upgrade. Most attributes, 39% on the cap percentage compared to 34% on run stopper, and then pass coverage down here at 27%. So if you're looking for the most upgrade points, if you're looking for the best spread at middle linebacker, I think it's safe to say field general is the way to go. And now we get to the corners. And this is where I think the biggest percentage for a single attribute is going to be shown. And there are three different types of archetypes. You have your zone, man-to-man, and your slot. So it's pretty self-explanatory. Zone coverage. Man coverage. Slot is going to be, you know, the nickel corners, the guys who play on the inside. Now, you would think that this is going to be sort of a balanced one, but it actually is not. And now let's take a look at the numbers. So when you do man-to-man, you are going to, of course, be very heavily in the favor of getting man coverage. 67 on 43 upgrades. Awareness is the second highest at 49. Then you have press, which is also very important to man coverage. And then you get down to the 22 range with tackle, 15 with play rec, and you get 7 upgrades for zone out of a man upgrade. Going down to the zone, 62 zone. So again, it's dominated by zone. You also have 47 awareness, 34 play rec. So play recognition is much more prevalent in zone upgrades than it is in man upgrades, which makes sense. Man, you are literally in charge of the person in front of you. Zone, you got to sit back and you just got to bring in the field. You have to know, okay, this guy is leaving my zone. I know the free safety's picking him up. I'm good. I can stick down on the flats defender here. Are these guys going inside, outside? Where is the quarterback's eyes going? You know, there's a lot of different factors when you're playing zone coverage. So that's why you're going to see a lot more play recognition in a zone upgrade with your archetype than you will a man upgrade. You also have 34 tackling. So it feels like this is going to give you a little bit better spread on other attributes, but obviously the man coverage is going to falter quite a bit. But it's still not a bad upgrade. I mean, I prefer zone because a lot of the times you get man corners, but if you need man, you're still going to get good awareness. You get some good press, some good tackle. But zone is definitely a better spread on what you're getting for your upgrades. And also look at here at the difference in speed. I had one speed upgrade the entire time of doing man. Oh, look at that, one injury. There is another one that had injury. But anyway, you had one upgrade to speed out of 43 upgrades for man to man, whereas you had 4 for a zone upgrade off of 43 upgrades. So that's a pretty significant difference when you comparing to 1 to 4. So if you're looking for speed on your corner, you're probably going to want to go zone over man. But then let's get to slot. And this is where I'm talking about. Look at the amount of man coverage you get for slot upgrade. 94 man coverage off of 43 upgrades. You also had 52 awareness, 26 press, 23 tackle, 17 play recognition, and then 7 to speed. So if you need man coverage and speed, don't even bother with man-to-man coverage. Just go and upgrade slot because you're more likely to get 2 and 3s to your man coverage as opposed to maybe 1 or 2 up here. And then you're still gonna have a very high probability of getting awareness, and you have that much more of a better opportunity to potentially increase your speed on that player by doing a slot upgrade. You still get some zone, but it's very, very heavy in the minds of the man coverage. Zone coverage, you actually don't even get man coverage, like at all. There is not a single man coverage upgrade. You do get 6 acceleration though, which is pretty cool to see. Wow, okay, so look at that. If you did zone and you pair zone and slot together, your corners are going to get very good in the zone coverage and man coverage areas. And you're also going to have a much better chance of getting speed and acceleration if you choose those two. So let's take a look at the percentages now. So up here on man, you have a 32% probability of getting a man coverage upgrade. That's pretty, self-explanatory. 24% for the second one with awareness. But now we're going down here, 29% for zone, 22 for awareness, 39 for man coverage, 22 for awareness. So if you're looking for man coverage and awareness, your gut instinct is telling you to do man-to-man upgrade. But actually slot would be a much better option for you to try and maximize what you're getting for those individual attributes. And you get more bang for your buck here, 36% compared to 33 and 31 under the cap percentage. And we are on to the final few positions here, free safety. And free safety is going to have 3 different archetypes: zone, run support, and hybrid. I wish they would have named hybrid something different, but I guess the way I would classify it as those safeties that can play corner, or vice versa. Hybrid is going to do more of like man type of approach. It's going to give you more situations with that. Run support is going to be it's going to be run support, tackling, hit power, block shedding, pursuit. And then zone coverage is going to be your zone. It's going to be your play recognition, your zone coverage. For a zone free safety build, I got 54 zone coverage upgrades, or zone coverage attribute points on 41 upgrades. The second highest was awareness at 38, tackle at 30, pursuit at 18. Dropping down to run support, 50 attribute upgrades to tackle, 43 to play recognition, 33 to zone coverage, 29 to awareness, 25 to man. So this was a very, very good mixed bag. Like if these 5 attributes are high on your safety, you have a good safety. You know what I mean? Like this takes about 90% of what a safety needs, and you get those upgrades just from run support. And then coming down to hybrid. And like I said, this is more of your man coverage. You're making your safety into a corner. 63 upgrade points for man coverage under hybrid. I mean, you get more percentage chance of getting a man coverage on hybrid than you do a zone upgrade on zone archetype upgrade. I mean, it's sort of crazy. You also have good awareness, good tackle, but then it sort of falls off a little bit to play rec and press at 17 and zone at 13. And then looking at the percentages of that, you have 33% probability of getting a zone coverage, but 29% down here with man. And even though the man is so much higher at 63 than it was up here at 54, why the probability is still a little bit lower is because you're getting a better spread down here than you get up here. This is more centralized once again. But this also shows that run support is by far the best upgrade to do for your safeties, because you have a 39% here on the cat, which means you're getting more attribute points per upgrade by doing this. And it has a really good spread. You still have a 21% chance of tackle, 18 here for play rec, 14 for zone, 12 for awareness, 10 for man. You have a lot of different areas that you can hit on your safety at one upgrade with run support than you can with either one of these other ones. And if you're trying to take a safety that is really good at being a safety, and you're like, you know what, I really want this guy to be able to play corner for me sometimes. Or if I run a blitz and he has to play man, I don't want him to get cooked because he's getting cooked. Go with hybrid. You can get your man coverage upgrades there. You can get your awareness still from there and your tackling. So it's not just going to be for man coverage, but you're also going to turn that corner or that safety into a potential corner for you. So overall, if you're trying to make a very balanced safety, you can go hybrid here to get that zone or that man coverage that you haven't gotten everywhere else. But you know that you're going to be missing out on the stuff that's important, like zone, tackling, pursuits, that kind of stuff. Play recognition is not as, it's more condensed, right? All of these seem to have one or two that are spread out, and then you have one that's more condensed, and that is hybrid. But I recommend go run support almost every upgrade. Unless your safety is severely missing zone coverage, I would go run support. It's clearly the best. You're going to get the best amount of attribute points possible for your upgrades, and it has a very, very good spread up here for the upgrades that you're going to be or possibly able to get. All right, and now it's time for the strong safeties. Strong safeties have the 3 same upgrade archetypes that you can do, but the percentages of what you get are going to change a little bit differently, because in football terms, strong safeties are more prone to be your in the box safety. They're playing up on the run game, they're blitzing more. Your zone or your free safeties are more for your zone. They're the guys that are dropping back, they're making sure nobody gets beat deep, that kind of a thing. So the attribute spread is going to be a little bit different here. And taking a look at it, you can see that doing a zone upgrade for your strong safety actually gets you more zone coverage. Now, going back to what I've said probably 5 or 6 times, and I know I've said it a lot, but I don't care. I'm going to say it again. Some of y'all like to skip parts of the video, okay? So maybe somebody didn't hear this thing the last 4 times I said it because they're skipping through videos, which, hey, that's your prerogative. I'm trying to cover my bases here. But zone coverage is not something that is typically high with a strong safety, because they're more likely coming in with tackle, with pursuits, with hit power, because they're predominantly meant to be playing in the box, playing against the run. Their secondary play is that of a zone coverage safety. So you might be seeing more upgrades with zone coverage on a strong safety because they already have everything else and their zone is lacking the most compared to free safeties. I don't know for sure if that's the case, but I do know that it looks like that. I also noticed that strong safeties develop slower than free safeties, and I don't know why. But I know that my free safeties were done a lot quicker than my strong safeties were, running the same testing and running the same everything. But strong safeties seem to just lag a little bit behind. And I'm not sure if that's just because they're not the best in zone. They're more so playing the middle parts of the field and playing up in the run. I don't know, but they just do not seem to get as many upgrades and as much XP game to game than the free safeties did. Looking at the run support, I had 50 upgrades or 50 attribute upgrades for tackle on 40 upgrades, and then 37 for play recognition, 32 for zone, 31 for man. So again, run support dominating right now in terms of the best spread and also the best attributes in that top spread that you can get for using that upgrade. And then dropping down to hybrid, you're still seeing man and awareness dominating that along with tackle. So it's pretty much the same. You're going to see very minor changes between free safety and strong safety, but the meat and potatoes is still there of what you're getting per upgrade for the different archetypes. And then looking here at the percentage breakdown, 43% for zone coverage over here, 29 for awareness. You have 21 here. Again, a very much bigger spread here. That's why nothing is over 25%. And then down here, you do have a little bit more of a spread than I'd seen that you'd had at free safety. You have a little bit better of a spread with hybrid at strong safety than you did at free safety for some reason. But again, it's more still centralized to man coverage, awareness, and tackling. But I do really like, though, in the free safety, like look at here at free safety. Under hybrid, I had 13 zone. Like look at this here. Free safeties, we had 13 zone upgrades for hybrid. Strong safeties, however, 31. Now again, going back to that, it could be because zone coverage is usually lower on the totem pole for strong safeties, but that's a pretty significant jump between just free safety and strong safety. So maybe play around with it. Switch your safeties around. If you have a guy that you really need zone coverage for, maybe swap him to strong safety before doing your upgrade. Do the upgrade and see if you get a good chunk of zone for him, and then you can move him back. I'm not telling you to cheat. I'm just telling you that there's ways to do it. So, and now let's, and then again, it says run support by far is the best. This one is much more balanced though. 36% on the cap percentage compared to 40 for the run support here. When you looked at the free safeties, well, I guess, okay, no, that was pretty comparable. So forget that part. They are both pretty comparable. There's just really good spreads here. Zone seems to be the one where I would avoid it unless I absolutely need my zone coverage to go up. But if zone coverage is not that big of a concern to me, I am not going to be using zone coverage on my safeties. I am going to be doing run support probably as my first option and then hybrid as my second option. You guys might have thought that was the end of the video, but no. I even did the kickers and punters, okay? Now, I treated them like fullbacks. I only did 20 upgrades, And this one really doesn't have much to talk about, but I did do them and I got the numbers for you. So let's take a look. So kickers. So you have power and accuracy, two very distinct things. Power, more kick power, accuracy, more accuracy. And this is literally all of the upgrades that I got. Power, accuracy, and awareness. Those are the only 3 upgrades you can get on a kicker or a punter. And that's just the way it is. If you do kick power, I had 26 upgrades for that. I had 14 apiece for awareness and kick accuracy. If I did accuracy though, my accuracy was by far the dominant one, along with awareness and kick power. So this is a prevalence thing. This is like, what is gonna be what you wanna do? Is your kicker got a strong leg but shitty accuracy? You're gonna wanna go with accurate then for all of your upgrades, because you're just gonna get accuracy handed to you left and right. If he's more balanced, I would probably go with power, because then you're still getting some kick power out of it, but you're also getting that accuracy. And again, if your kick power is really good and your accuracy is really bad, even if you click power, don't be surprised if you still get an accuracy upgrade instead of a kick power upgrade with that archetype selection, because if it can't get past 99, so it's got to sort of work itself in with the system. And then here is the percentage breakdown of that. This one is pretty self-explanatory though. I mean, it's not much to it. If you choose accuracy, you're going to get boatloads of accuracy, and you're barely ever going to get kick power. If you do kick power, you're going to get majority kick power, but you also have a chance of accuracy. So if you're looking for more of a balanced approach, power is definitely the way to go, because that gives you the power ability with a little bit of accuracy. But you're probably going to need to do accuracy in the beginning, because most kickers that come in don't have the best accuracy. And the last and final position is punters. Well, they have the same exact setup as the kickers, so let's just jump right in. The weird thing here with punters though is apparently you just don't get power. I got 29 kick accuracy doing power upgrades and only 20 kick power for doing power. But the accuracy is still the same. It's very, very outweighed to the kick accuracy, and then kick power is next to nothing on that particular archetype upgrade. So punters, for some reason, they don't get kick power. They just don't like it. I don't know, maybe they just come in with very high kick power all the time and they just don't need it. But punters are very much different with their power archetype upgrades, where accuracy is still the dominating factor, even though it is not what you're trying to upgrade. And here is just the raw numbers all put together. This is just stating like all of the actual counts of each position, like how many upgrades I received for the actual upgrades themselves. So like it says like I did 164 upgrade points, and out of those I had 703 attributes gained from those 164 upgrades. And it just gives you a rough breakdown of all the numbers that I did. Don't think it's really going to be that helpful, but I figured it's here. Baker gave it to me. Let me throw it in this video and just give you an idea of what all went into coming up with these numbers. So, and that's pretty much everything. You know, I mean, if you come away with this video and you're like, dude, I just felt like you just talked about numbers for however long this video is going to be straight, you're absolutely right. That's all I did. And this video is really just meant as a guide for you guys to look through. I don't think you guys are going to sit here and watch it from beginning to end every time you're looking at it, but maybe to come back to when you have 5 upgrades to do on a wide receiver and you're like, dang, I really want to try to, you know, hit these certain areas. Let me go and check out CB's video on it and see what archetypes that I should choose to try and give me the best option to get those individual attributes that I'm looking for. And that's all this is supposed to be. It wasn't anything fancy. It was just me showing a player picture and then me showing a spreadsheet. So it's not the best quality video. I just wanted to put it out there for people to understand what you're getting into when you're upgrading your players, and for people that maybe haven't played the game for years on end and just sort of have a innate sense as to what they can expect to get. Even I learned a few things about things that I didn't think were as unbalanced or as fair with these upgrades as I thought. So I hope this helped you guys out a little bit. If it did, please hit that like button. It helps me out tremendously. If you are new to the channel and you like more of these videos, I have a whole playlist over on my channel called the Back to the Basics. This video will be included in that, and it just goes over every single thing that I can think of that is so basic that YouTubers don't even cover it anymore, right? I couldn't find it anywhere, so I made them, and I hope that it helps you guys out in understanding this game better. As for this video, that's all I have for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Again, hit that like, subscribe, and turn on that bell notification, and I will see you guys next time.